Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. So this is the Codeforces playlist problem solving. So we are on a roll. So in our first video, we have solved this watermelon problem. So where we learned conditional logic and the modulus operator. So in the second video, we tackled that way too long words. So where we got introduced the strings, loops and character indexing. So today we are going to solve this Codeforces 231A team problem. So this is a problem is going to introduce us something super fundamental. So reading multiple values per line and making decisions based on a combination of inputs. So it's still beginner friendly, but thinking process is nice step up. So grab your editor and open Codeforces. So let us see the problem. So this is the problem statement. So they have given at one day the best friends Petya, Vasya and Tonya decided to form a team. So and take part in programming contest. So the three friends wanted to take part in a programming contest. So the participants are usually offered several problems during the programming contest. So they will be provided with some of the problems. So after that they have given long before the start the friends decided that they will implement a problem if at least two of them are sure about the solution. So that means if any two friends sure about the solution of the problem, so that time they will execute the problem or else they will not write the problem. So otherwise the friend won't write the problem solution. So there are three friends. So if any two of them are sure that they know the solution, so that time they will write the solution for that. So if not, they will not be write the solution. So it is like a voting system. So the majority votes, that means the majority means at least two out of the three members have to be accepted. So let us see that. So here that is the next one is the input form. So in this input they have given the first input line contains a single integer, that is n. So the n number of problems that is present in the context. So after that, see here they have given 3 and there are 3 friends votes. So for that they can see how many problems they can solve. So after that the n lines contains 3 integers. So each integer is either 0 or 1. So if the first number line is equals to 1, that means the Petya is sure about the problem solution. Otherwise he is not sure. So the second number is Vasya is views on the solution. So that time if it is 1, he is sure about the solution. So the third number shows Tonya's view. So the number on the lines are separated by spaces. So there are 3 inputs. So one for Petya, Vasya and Tonya. So if any two of the value is given as greater value, that is 1. So that time they will execute the program, that means they will write the solution for that. So next we will see how to do that. So first we will build the logic for that. So let us see the input test cases here. So the input test cases, that is 3 and there are 3 inputs 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0. So here as you can see there are 2 ones. So it is majority. So that time 1 is added here. So after that one problem is added. So the next problem they have all of them are sure about the solution. So another one is added, that is 2. So here 2 of them are not sure. So that is 0. 2 plus 0 is 2. So the output is 2. So there are 2 problems. So for the one problem 2 of them know the solution. So that time one problem is solved. For the next one only one is sure about the problem. So that time it is not solved. So 1 is the output for that. So they have given the note. So in the first sample Petya and Vasya are sure about that they know how to solve the problem for the first problem. So for this test case 1, 1 and 0. So after that all 3 of them know how to solve the second problem. So they have said all 3 of them know how to solve the problem for this input. So that means that's also count as the solution of the problem. So the last one, only Petia is sure about the solution for the third problem. So, but that is not enough. So the friends will not take it. So in the second sample, this is the second sample. So in here, there are two problems. For the first one is Petia knows the solution. For the second one, Petia only does not know the solution. So that time, one will be added here. So this is the basic solution. So let me open the notepad. So let us see how to do that. So here, as we can know, first we have to read the n, that is the n number of inputs. So the step 1 is to read the n. So after getting the n, the n is nothing but the number of problems. So now we want to count how many problems they can solve. So for that, I'll add one counter. So I'll initialize one counter with the value of 0 initially. So this is how we are going to track how many problems the team can attempt to solve. So the next one, this is step 2. So next one is step 3. First we will get how many number of problems and we will initialize one counter to how many problems they can solve. So after that we have to loop n times because n time of problems are there. So after that we will declare 3 variables. For the 3 variables, A for Petia and B for Vasya and C for Tonia. So that time we can know how many number of them that they can know. So for that we have initialized one variable. So after that we have to run a for loop or while loop. So I'll just run a loop n times. So within it we have to get 3 inputs. So I'll declare 3 variables A, B and C. So the 3 values, that is A, B and C. So after getting these 3 values, we have to add all of them. So if it is either 1 or 0, so I will declare one variable. So sum is A plus B plus C. So we have adding 3 variables. So in this, if it is 1, that means the solution can be known. So if it is 1, it is known. If it is 0, if it is not known. So that means if any two of them know, that means it can be greater than or equals to 2. It can be 2 or 3. So that time, if it is 2, I can add it to solution. If it is 3, I can add it to solution. So I'll write one if condition. If my total sum is greater than or equal to the value of 2, so I'll increment the counter. After this loop runs, it get out of the loop. So that is the step 4. So in the step 4, we have to print the counter. How many problems the people can solve. So these 4 steps, the key inside that makes the elegant is that since each vote is binary 0 or 1, we don't need to do any complex logic. We just need to add 3 votes and check if the sum is at least the value of 2. So let me think about it. For example, if all of them doesn't know, that is 0 plus 0 plus 0, so it is no, they can't solve it. So if any one of them know, 1 plus 0 plus 0, so that time also no, because the value is, first I'll add the value, so 0 and again 0. So after that this second person only knows, so 0 plus 1 plus 0, so this value is 1 and this value is also 1. So one person knows, so it is no, it can't be solved. 0 plus 0 plus the last person only knows, so that time also it is 1, no. So when we come here, these are the conditions, all of them are false. So if first 2 members knows, it is 2 and I can say yes. So after that, if the middle one doesn't know, that means 1 plus 0 plus 1, that time also the value will become 2, so then it is yes. So if the last one only does, the first one only doesn't know, so that time 1, 0 plus 1 plus 1, so it is still remain 2, the output is yes, they can solve the problem. So after that 1 plus 1 plus 1, it is 3, so it is yes. So these are the possibilities that can be get from the user. So if all of them doesn't know, it is no. If any one of them, like if Petia or Vasya or Tonia knows, so that time we can say only one people know it is not possible. So these are the all 8 combinations. So in this, now some of you might think that can I use if else chain instead? Yes, you could use, but summing is cleaner and shorter than that. So less error, and in competitive programming the elegance matters. So the cleaner your code, the fewer bugs you can introduce. So let us get back to the setup file. So for that I am going to use CLiner. So I am using IntelliJ CLiner, that means the JetBrains CLiner. If you want to use Visual Studio Code or any other compilers, you can use. So let create a new file. I have already created that. So it is the best template for the C++. So we are using the same template for every time because consistency in competitive programming saves mental energy. So you want your brain focused on the problem logic, not on remembering boilerplate. If you have been following this playlist, you should already have this template saved somewhere. You can copy it quickly. If you not, do that now. So it's a simple habit that pays off every single contest. So let me explain this code line by line. So next we need to read the number of problems into n. So for that I will create one variable. So int n. So after declaring it, we have to read it. So C in n. So this line will get the input from the terminal and store it in the variable n. So it is nothing new here. You are already comfortable with this. So let us move on to the next step. That is, we are adding the counter. So for that I will declare one counter, initialize with value 0. So after that we have declared a variable with the count and initialize it with 0. So this is our answer that we will increment it every time if the team decides to attempt a problem. So always initialize your variables, because in C++, uninitialized variable doesn't start with the 0 automatically. It contains whatever the garbage value was in that memory address. So this is a very common bug for beginners. So initializing to 0 is here critical. So for that we have to always initialize. So after that there is a for loop for int I is 0, I less than n and I plus plus. You can use this line, or else you can also use while n minus minus. So that also works, but I am using for loop here. So after that, so this is a classic for loop. We have run exactly n times. So this is initialization. So that is int n I value is 0. So we will start our loop counter I at 0, and after that I less than n. We keep looking that as long as I is less than n, it will go on to the loop. So after that I plus plus, after each iteration we will increment I by 1. So for the next n value is 3. So the loop runs when I is 0, I is 1 and I is 2. So that is exactly 3 times total. So in our last videos we have used while n minus minus. So today we are using a for loop. Both are valid. So the for loop is more readable when you need to track the iteration number. So the while n minus minus is more compact when you just need to repeat n times. So make sure to know both. So for that, for the next thing we have to add 3 variables for the knowing of how many problems that they can solve. There are 3 persons, that is Vasya, Petya and Vanya. So for that A, B and C. So after that I will get 3 inputs A, B and C from the terminal. So we declare 3 integers A, B, C and representing the votes of the 3 team members for the current problem. Then we read all 3 problems in a cin statement. Notice how we chain this operator, that is C in A, B, C. So this reads 3 space separated values from the input line in a one go. So C++, it is automatically skips white space, tabs and new lines between the values. So whether the input has spaces or new lines in between the values, cin and this operator will handle it seamlessly. So this is very convenient. So let us move on to the next one. that is we have to add it. So if before that I'll create one variable to add it. So first we have to write this code within this for loop. So the n times, so declare 3 variables, get the values. After that my sum value is initially 0. So after that I store it here, and after that instead of 0 we can also do a plus b plus c. I'll directly add these 3 values, and if my sum value is, see this 8 input patterns. So if it is greater than 2, we can say greater than or equals to 2, we can say that it can be added to the attempt of the person. So for that, if my sum is greater than equals to 2, so that time I can increment the count by 1. I can attempt the problem. So count plus plus. So this is the core decision. We add 3 votes together since each vote is 0 or 1. So the sum can be 0, 1, 2 or 3. So if it is greater than 2 means, so this is the majority condition, at least 2 out of the 3 said yes. So that time we will count plus plus. So this is the post increment operator. So it adds 1 to the count. So it is equivalent to writing count equals to count plus 1. For example, count equals to count plus 1 or count plus equals to 1. So these 3 also same, but we are using count plus plus because it is more easy to write it. So after that, so every time at least 2 members vote is yes, we increment our counter. So that's all there is to that. So after this for loop, we will count it and we have to print it. So see out, we have to print the count. So count. So after that I am using backslash n instead of n line because it is faster than the n line. So after the loop finishes, after we processed all n problems, so we print the final count. So this is our answer, the total number of problems the team will attempt. So we print it once outside the loop. So this is the important, a common beginner mistake is accidentally putting the output printing line inside the for loop. So don't do that. So we should print a running total after every problem instead of the final answer. So let's trace through the sample input setup. So let me remove this. So initially the value of n is 3 and the count is 0. So in the iteration 1, I value is 0. So I will change the symbol. So in the first iteration, the I value become 0. So I am checking that 0 less than the value of n, that is 3. So if 0 less than 3, I will get into the loop. So after that I will check, I will get the 3 inputs. So the 3 inputs are, first A is 1, B is 1 and C is 0. So the total sum will become 2. So if 2 is greater than or equal to 2, so that time it is true. So the count will become 1. We have to change the count to 1. So the second iteration, the I value will become 1. So 1 less than 3 is true. So we will get some more input. So for that we will get triple ones in the previous problem. So 1, 1 and 1. So now the total sum will become 3. So 3 is greater than or equals to 2. So that is true. So if it is true, we have to increase the count by 1. So count plus plus here. So the count will be incremented by 1. So after that, in the third one, the I value will become 2. The third iteration, the I value will become 2. So 2 less than 3 is true. After that 1, 0 and 0. So the total sum is 1. So if 1 is greater than or equals to 2, so it is false. So it will not increment the count. So the I will be incremented for the fourth iteration. The I will be incremented to 3. So 3 less than 3 is false. It will get out of the loop. After getting out of the loop, it will print the count. that is currently stored as 2. So 2 will be printed. So let us try on the test case. So this is the test case we have iterated. So I copied this and run this and paste here. So build is running. So the output is 2. So we have given 3 inputs and 3 problems, and here 2 of them are voting, 3 of them are voting, 1 is not voting. So one is only voting. So that time there are 2 problems they can attempt. So they have solving 2 problems. So let us try to run the next test case. Is it passing? So for the next test case, the output should be 1. So let us copy here and run it again and paste it. So the output is 1. So it is showing the same output that is given in the sample test cases. So now let us copy the program and get into Codeforces and go to the submitting button. So when you see this submit tab, paste your code. Make sure you are using this. I am using C++, so I am using this language G++17, that is C++. So after that, come down here and verify you are a human. So after it is succeeding, so now let us submit the program. So now it is running on the test cases. So it is being accepted. So let's recap what is the problem that is status. So first we have seen reading multiple values per line with the chained scene, that is this line. So it is clean, concise and handle all the white spaces automatically. So you will use this pattern constantly. And one more thing, always initialize your variables while using the count as the 0. So never assume C++ starts variables at 0 for you. So always set the initial value explicitly. After that, the for loop. It is the classic for loop that we are using here. So in this we learn how to read and write in your sleep. So it is appears in virtually every competitive programming solution. After that, binary input as some trick. So when the inputs are 0 or 1, we just need to add them. After that, we are comparing them, the sum to the threshold. It is cleaner than the writing multiple if else conditions. So this is a pattern you will encounter repeatedly. So after that, counting with a variable. So we are declared a counter and increment it inside the loop and printing after this, one of the most fundamental patterns in all of the programming. So after that, placing the output outside the loop. So only print your final answer once after the processing is done, unless the problem is explicitly asking for per line output. So that time you have to do that. So on the Codeforces team fully explained, traced and submitted. So the 3 problems down in the playlist, we have now covered conditional, string, loops and multiple value input. So you are genuinely building a toolkit for competitive programming fundamentals. So in the next video, we are going to see the problem bit++, the next problem. So if you are finding this playlist helpful, please like the video, subscribe to the channel and share it with someone who is learning the code. So it is genuinely helps the channel to grow and reach more people. So drop a comment below what was the hardest concept from today's videos. I like to know where the people get stuck. So see you in the next video.